So what about pests, diseases, and weeds? These are a constant bane of farmers and gardeners, and in some areas are only getting worse. Do we need chemicals to keep them under control? Not if we design our systems effectively. To create a pest control system that's thoughtful and regenerative, it's important to understand the role of pests in a natural system. They do two things that are important for the health of ecosystems. They remove weaker plants from the system, and they provide food for predators. They're part of what helps to maintain a healthy balance in an ecosystem. Let's take an aphid. There are many types of aphids that feed on many types of plants. They can suck the life right out of a plant and its fruit. Aphids are prolific breeders. They breed several times in a season. Each aphid can lay thousands of eggs per year. Their predators, however, exist in much fewer numbers. For instance, a single ladybug nymph can eat hundreds of aphids, so it doesn't take many ladybugs to keep an aphid population under control. Ladybugs can eat 5,000 aphids over their lifetime. Ladybugs won't lay eggs in places where there are no pests. Thus the aphids come first, then the predators will show up and start breeding. That sequence is important, and here's why. A system with thousands of acres of only one type of plant, like a monocrop corn system, is already very imbalanced. A pest coming into a huge field of corn is going to be stimulated to breed like crazy because to it, there's no end to the food. It will call all of its cousins and other relatives in for the feast. When pesticides are used on this pest, there are two things that can happen. The first is that this poison also kills all of the predators and other beneficial insects, along with most of the pests. Keeping in mind that one ladybug can eat hundreds of aphids, and each one of her babies can too. So we don't need many ladybugs, and they don't breed nearly as fast or as much. Because aphids breed faster, they're able to get ahead of the predators and actually do some damage before balance is achieved. We kill the predators and there's even more pests now. This is true in a small garden as well as a large monocrop acreage. Now there's another thing. Because of their large numbers and frequent breeding, pests can produce genetic anomalies that can survive the poison. In these huge monocrop fields, you end up with breeding pairs of pests over time that are immune to the poisons. You have now created a super pest that your poisons won't kill. But the predators are still killed by it and thus can't help you control the pests. Get the problem? Now you have to use a stronger poison. And this is the position we find ourselves in around the world that led to extremely toxic pesticides like DDT, which are still used in parts of the world, unfortunately. We have pesticides like chlorpyrifos that cause brain damage in children and hopefully will stay outlawed in the US. The industry went to GMOs because the stronger pesticides were getting banned because of their toxicity to humans. The GMOs did actually reduce the need for pesticides for a few years, and we were using less of them. But then we bred pests immune to GMOs. So now we're using both GMOs and pesticides on these super pests. Even the poison companies could figure out this was going to hit a dead end. Monsanto is thus promoting regenerative agriculture, but their definition includes the use of lots of Roundup, for instance, on cover crops. It's not nearly as regenerative or holistic as what we do in permaculture. You can use this knowledge of the pest cycle in many ways in your own garden. The other thing that chemical agriculture does is to kill the friendly and healthy biology in the soil. If your body doesn't have healthy gut bacteria and trace minerals, your immune system can be weakened. It's the same thing for plants. It's interesting, a weak or sick plant will give out a scent that attracts pests. Maybe that's nature's way of keeping a balance and allowing the healthiest plants to survive. So feeding your soil is an effective pest control strategy. We also plant trap plants that can bring both pests and predators into the system early. We get a lot of bean aphids, so we plant bean cover crops early that provide two functions. One is to feed the soil. The other is to bring a balance of pests and predators before we plant our summer long beans and other edibles. It's wild to check them out. It looks like Blade Runner in there with all the different kinds of pest predators. We don't use any pesticides, not even organic ones. We use a variety of natural approaches designed to create a balance in the system. And that's all we need. Another simple technique is to let some of your veggies go to flower and seed. Many pest predators depend on the small flowers found on cilantro, dill, and carrot plants for nectar, and then their babies eat the pests. Pretty nice balance. This is why you want to have diversity in your garden. Habitat is also important. Create hiding places for lizards or toads to help your garden. And diversity in your garden can help confuse pests. They often find plants by smell. So herbs near vulnerable plants like basil, onion, cilantro can be of benefit. There's a lot more to this topic, but often simple handlings do wonders.